Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. You have maybe watched the last couple videos that I put up. If you haven't, I highly suggest it. Very, very irritating article from The Economist that was basically a piggyback on a really not well thought out op-ed from about a year ago from Greenberg from West Point and I forgot the other guy's name, Mark Duggan or something like that at Stanford. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, so those were the last two. And VFW is very irritated. So I wanted to share with you the article here. I'll give you the headline here real quick. VFW bashes The Economist for taking turkey-sized dump on disabled vets. I like it. So before we jump into it, though, I want to throw on a very special thank you for a super comment that I got, super chat from Tony Ajutter 5940. Tony Ajutter, thank you so very much. I really appreciate your support. It really does mean a lot to me. Thank you so very much. I'm sorry if I'm screwing up your last name. Tony Ajutter, it's ADJUDER 5940. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate your support. All right, so let's jump into this. Just because I want to say it again, VFW bashes The Economist for taking turkey-sized dump on disabled vets. Patrick Murray of the Veterans of Foreign Wars has produced a rebuttal to the recent article calling for reducing veterans' disability benefits that only a combat veteran would write. Wonderful. Let's dive into this. Amid the outcry over a recent article in The Economist that called for a reduction in what it described as absurdly generous veterans benefits. Veterans, one voice has stood out from the rest. Now let's jump into this. I'm just setting this up here so I can kind of read through it better. All right. Patrick Murray, National Legislative Services Director for the Veterans of Foreign Wars office in Washington, D.C., has issued a rebuttal that reflects the frustrations of a generation of veterans who served in the global war on terrorism and now facing growing efforts to balance the federal budget on the backs of wounded veterans. Not only did Murray, a Marine veteran who lost his right leg in Iraq, describe the piece as a turd Sunday, but he also wrote that The Economist has taken a turkey-sized dump on disabled veterans by running the story on Thanksgiving. The last paragraph of this loosely compiled puddle of garbage juice included the statement, reducing payments to former soldiers will never be popular, but it would be wise. Murray goes on to say in the statement that the editorial reads like it was written by the guy or girl who totally would have joined, but I didn't because I would have told off a drill instructor if they got in my face. Perfect. Veterans everywhere will understand exactly what Murray is arguing, but what makes his rebuttal unique is that it comes from one of the largest veteran service organizations in the country, one which you might expect to take a more formal and buttoned down tone. Most big organizations based in Washington, D.C. tend to stick with the stale language of officialdom and avoid drama in their statements. But in his response to the Economist article, Murray has morphed from Battalion XO to Kill Hat drill instructor. What's more is that the organization's response is written in a style that many veterans can appreciate. There are echoes of Sylvester Stallone's famous speech at the end of the second Rambo movie when he is asked what he wants. I want what they want. And every other guy who came over here and spilled his guts and gave everything he had once for our country to love us as much as we love it. Moving on. Here you go. Normally, Thanksgiving is synonymous with food, family, friends, and giving thanks. For The Economist, Thanksgiving apparently means taking a turkey-sized dump on disabled veterans. The other day, I had the unfortunate opportunity to read an unattributed article on The Economist titled "American Veterans Now Receive Absurdly Generous Benefits," and it left me with a lot of thoughts. You can read it for yourself here, and there's a hyperlink. Just be ready to sign up for a subscription. The piece on The Economist has no author and reads like it was poorly run through ChatBT. Agreed. And the title of the piece is insultingly stupid. Agreed. The definition of absurd is wildly unreasonable, illogical, or inappropriate. I challenged the cowardice anonymous writers at The Economist to illuminate us on which part of veterans' health care and benefits are inappropriate, illogical, or wildly unreasonable. I am a disabled veteran. I had my right leg blown to pieces on September 4th, 2006, in Fallujah, Iraq. Since that time, I have had to walk with an above-the-knee prosthetic, and I have not had an easy day physically for as long as I can remember. Hey, The Economist, which portion of my healthcare or benefits are wildly unreasonable? Now, I get it. He is a more severe circumstance and situation, but the idea remains, right? Service to our country can be incredibly uplifting and positive experience for many who wore the uniform, but that service can also involve hazards. Some disabled veterans struggle physically or mentally with the effects of their service. Bullet wounds, traumatic brain injuries, post-traumatic stress, and other effects of a service can sometimes cause chronic issues for veterans, and providing care and benefits for those issues is certainly not inappropriate or illogical. While the AI-assisted journalists at The Economist boldly chose to put their name on this piece, they did attribute a quote to another non-expert, yes, in veteran benefits, Mark Duggan from Stanford University. Mark foolishly stated about VA disability and compensation: once you qualify, you have an incentive not to get better. An incentive not to get better? Question marks and exclamation points. Hey, Mark, any clue on how I can get my right leg back? I'd gladly give back the money I received so I can get up out of bed without the assistance of a wheelchair or a prosthetic. The meandering, poorly structured article in The Economist highlighted a lot of increased numbers and statistics. Many of these figures quoted began back in 2001. It highlighted the increased number of veterans with high disability ratings beginning to increase in 2001. However, nowhere in the article does it state what else began back in 2001. Any guess, anyone? These dopes conveniently left out the global war on terror that began in 2001. Lasted for 20 years, a full 20 years of the same all-volunteer force serving over and over and over again in the same toxic hellholes, fighting the same brutal terrorists. Gee, I wonder why today's veterans are presenting with more chronic ailments than generations that came before us. Ivy League elitists like Mark Duggan and the pretentious wankers at The Economist clearly didn't bother to do much research. That's exactly what I said. Zero. They take a couple bumper sticker things and they run with it. They don't dig in at all. Do much research on veteran disability or bother to speak to one of the millions of disabled veterans like me. We would have told these arrogant snobs that certain injuries and illnesses are with us for life, and no disability rating is worth the difficulties that come with some of the after effects of service. The real cherry on top of this turd sundae was the lazy suggestion, possibly lifted from the fools at the Washington Post editorial board, that VA should means test veterans before receiving benefits, as in, if you make enough money after service, you wouldn't be taken care of for the cost of war. If the Economist had bothered to attribute a name to the drivel, I would ask that idiot, how would you, oh, this is so great, how would you means test my inability to teach my son to ride a bike? That's a pretty routine joy that most parents get the privilege of taking part in. However, my prosthetic leg doesn't really function in a way that allows me normal bike riding. So that is a simple joy I won't get. How exactly do buffoons like Mark Duggan and the dollar store journalists at The Economist suggest factoring in that loss? The last paragraph of this loosely compiled puddle of garbage juice included the statement, reducing payments to former soldiers will never be popular, but it would be wise. America's veterans' obsession has gone too far. Too far? Holy hell. This sounds like it was written by a jealous also ran, who every veteran has probably met. The guy or gal who, totally would have joined, but I didn't because I would have told off a drill instructor if they got in my face. Losers. In the future, if any major publication wants to embarrass themselves by anonymously taking shots at disabled veterans, I'd like to offer my services. I can start by helping you research this subject to learn about the actual effects of service-connected injuries and illnesses. I can also connect you with the other disabled veterans so you can hear firsthand accounts of some of the difficulties veterans face. I could also even help Google image search pictures of actual veterans instead of the stock photo of firefighters in The Economist's article that they used at the top of its trash piece on veterans. Then finally, if you still intend on disparaging disabled veterans, I can assist you in removing your head from your ass free of charge. That concludes it. How nice is that? Outstanding that we have some loud voices out there. If you watched till the end, Clay and I did a piece on this as well on Veterans Daily. Veterans Daily is the co-hosted channel. Please check that out. And I just did a couple videos on this same stupid subject. So with that, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.